Welcome back, all my dear students of class 8 to your chemistry online class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I hope you all are doing your studies properly and completing your written work, and besides that you also completing your revision work and giving your unit test well. Let's continue with the chapter water. I had taken up in the last lecture. I had told you about the melting point earlier, and I had told you about how the freezing point is affected by the change in pressure, and also with that how the impurities affect the freezing point. That is, the freezing point decreases when impurities are added to it, and the change in pressure increases. That is it is the opposite character. That is, when pressure increases, the freezing point decreases. This is just vice versa, that when the pressure is increasing, the freezing point is decreasing, and then when the pressure is decreasing, the freezing point increases. Then similarly, I told you about the density and conductivity also. Then the specific heat of water, that is it is around about 4.2 joules per gram per degree Celsius. So how is this important? That is, water neither heats up nor cools down quickly. It takes time for both the things, and that is why it is used as an excellent cooling agent for car engines, in nuclear reactors, and in machine. Then I explained to you about the anomalous expansion of water. That is, water has minimum volume and maximum density at 400 degrees Celsius, and the expansion of water when it is cooled from 4 degree to 0 degrees Celsius is showing an anomalous character, that is, which is deviating away from the normal one. That is, as temperature rises, there is expansion, but here when the water is cooled from 4 to 0 degrees, and instead of contracting, it is expanding. So this is called as the anomalous expansion of water, and this is important for the survival of the aquatic animals in cold regions. Is it clear? And how this is happening, that I have shown you with the help of a video. That is, in cold countries, when in winters, when the temperature is below 0 degrees Celsius, the water bodies they freeze at the top, whereas at the below the ice, the water remains at 4 degrees Celsius. Is that clear? And this helps the aquatic life to survive. Is it clear? Since ice is what? It is a poor conductor of heat, and it does not allow the flow of heat from the water to the atmosphere. So the temperature of the water remains at 4 degrees Celsius. This helps the aquatic plant and animals to survive. I told you that water is a universal solvent, since it is capable of dissolving a variety of different substances. Like when you solve in water, it makes a solution, and similarly there are so many other solid substances, or even gases dissolve in water, and liquids also dissolve in water. They mix with each other. So I had told you in this regard, I had told you about the solution, solute, solvent. So I told you a substance that dissolves in other substance to form solution, that is called a solute. In this case, it is the the sugar, and the solvent, a substance in which the solute is dissolved to form a solution, it is called a solvent. In this case, it is water. And so we can sum up both the things together. That is, the solution in which a solute is dissolved in water is called an aqueous solution, and the solution that are made in solvents other than water, like alcohol and carbon tetrachloride or any other solvent, it is known as non-aqueous solution. So this mixture of solute and solvent over here, this is known as the, what is it known as? This is known as a solution. Then miscible and immiscible liquids, that is, liquids that dissolve completely in each other and form a single layer, are called miscible liquids. Like example, alcohol in water, fruit juice in water. And liquids which do not dissolve in each other, they don't mix with each other and form separate layer, are known as immiscible liquids. For example, oil in water. Is that clear? Be it any oil. Told you about the saturated, unsaturated and supersaturated solution. That is a solution in which more solute can be dissolved in a solvent at a particular temperature is called an unsaturated solution. Then a solution in which no more solute can be dissolved at a particular temperature, that is called a saturated solution. And another one, that is a solution that contains more solute than it can hold at a particular temperature, is called a supersaturated solution. Is it clear? So let's proceed on further now. Let's study about solubility. What do you mean by the term solubility? Now solubility is the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in 100 grams of a solvent to form a saturated solution at a particular temperature and pressure. Is it clear? In other words, you can put it together, that is the maximum amount of a substance that can be dissolved or that will dissolve in a certain amount of solvent at a given temperature is called that substance's solubility. Is that clear? So example, blank grams of salt in 100 grams of water at a particular temperature, that gives or that determines the solubility. And different substances have different solubilities in the same volume at a given temperature. For example, solubilities of sugar and copper sulfate. What are the solubilities? That is, sugar has a solubility of 204 grams, that is 204 grams is dissolved in 100 grams of water, and same with 91 grams of copper sulfate is, I beg your pardon, 21 grams of copper sulfate is dissolved in 100 grams of water. That determines the solubility. So you can see the amount varies. That is 204 grams of sugar and 21 grams of copper sulfate at 20 degrees Celsius in 100 grams of water. Is that clear? So this solubility varies with temperature and varies with the type of solute. Is it clear? So a substance that has a negligible solubility in solvent is said to be insoluble. For example, silver chloride. Is that clear? It is called as insoluble. Then there are certain factors which affect the solubility. The first one being temperature. So the solubility of most of the solids and liquids increases with increase in temperature. As you increase, if you pour, suppose you are making sugar syrup and you try to dissolve the same amount of sugar in water without heating, that a time will come when sugar will stop dissolving. It will form a saturated solution. But again, if you heat it, increase it, as you had seen in the case of supersaturated solution, when you heat the saturated solution, then the solid starts dissolving again. Is that clear? So we can see that the solubility of a particular substance or solubility of most of the solids and liquids, they increase with a increase in temperature. Is it clear? So the solubility of a gas decreases with increase in temperature. As we increase in the summer months, the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide deplete in the water body just because the temperature is high. So the gas solubility decreases with the increase in temperature. Is that clear? So that is why generally it happens that the fishes die in the summer months. Is that clear? It's because of the solubility of the gases decreases, both carbon dioxide and oxygen. Then coming to the next factor that affects solubility is pressure. It is ground into small particles than if it is in the form of a large chunk. Is that clear? It is in the form of a small piece, then it will not dissolve quickly. The packet of granulated sugar exposes far more surface area to the solvent and dissolve more quickly than the sugar cube. So smaller the size of the solute particles, greater will be its solubility. we can say that it is easier to dissolve 100 grams of powdered sugar in a given volume of water than to dissolve 100 grams of sugar cubes in the same volume of water. So stirring brings what? It brings most of the solvent in contact with the solute, and hence it increases solubility. Is that clear? So when we stir with a spoon or any rod, any solute in the solvent, then most of the solute particle come in contact with the solvent particle and the solubility increases. Is it clear? So what is the importance of these dissolved solid substances? That is, water contains certain gases, we already know, that is oxygen and carbon dioxide, both which are important for the aquatic plant and animals for the process of respiration, and the dissolved carbon dioxide is important for the process of photosynthesis by the aquatic plant. Is that clear? And the amount of other, there is, apart from these gases, there are certain solids which are dissolved in water. So they are, so it is, these solids are the TDS, that is total dissolved solids, that determine the quality of water. That is the inorganic salts and the small amounts of organic matter present in solution in water. Is that clear? That determine the total dissolved solids, or TDS, and that determines that whether this particular water is good for life of aquatic animals, or apart from this, is that particular water good for human consumption or not. Is it clear? So this dissolved gases, I have told you, are important for animals and plants both, for carrying out the process of respiration and photosynthesis, and the minerals that are dissolved in water are necessary for the growth of the living organism. Is it clear? And the dissolved minerals give taste to water. Then what are solutions, suspensions and colloids? So take 3 beakers, mark them as A, B, C. In beaker A, take some water and dissolve some salt in it. In beaker B, take some milk. And in beaker C, and here we have, in beaker C, we have taken sand and water. In this case, we have taken flour and water. So what do we see in beaker A? We will see that this particular solid, whichever solid, whether it is salt or sugar, it dissolves in water and forms a transparent solution. The particles of salt or sugar are not visible. It forms a homogeneous mixture. So this is a true solution. It forms a true solution. Then milk is not transparent. Also, its particles do not settle down. You leave it in a jug, or you leave it in a glass, it will remain as such. So milk is a colloid. And sand, or we have flour, they do not dissolve in water, and after some time they settle at the bottom of the beaker. So it forms a heterogeneous mixture, and so we can say that this is a suspension. So let's understand what they are. So what is a true solution? I have told you, when salt mixes in water, when you mix salt to water or sugar to water, it forms a transparent solution. So what is it? A homogeneous mixture in which the size of the solute particle is less than 10 to the power of minus 7 centimeter. This is the size of the solute particles, that is solute particle, be it sugar or salt. When you stir it, then it forms a transparent solution, and the solute particles are so small that they cannot be seen with the help of a simple microscope. Is that clear? We cannot differentiate where the salt has gone or where the sugar has gone, and we cannot differentiate the solute particles in water. So these are examples, that is salt in water, sugar in water, and copper sulfate in water are some examples of true solutions. Is it clear? Then what are suspensions? The heterogeneous mixtures in which the size of the solute particle is in between 10 to the power of minus 7 to 10 to the power of minus 4 centimeter, 10 to the power of minus 7 to 10 to the power of minus 4 centimeter. or you can say 1 to 1000 nanometer. This is the solute particle size. They are known as the colloids. But here we are dealing with the suspension first, so we will discuss about the suspensions. That is the heterogeneous mixture in which the size of the solute particle is greater than 10 to the power of minus 4 centimeter. Is that clear? So, or you can say 1000 nanometer, they are known as suspension. So, chalk in water, or flour in water, or mud in water, wheat flour in water, that I have just told you, are some examples of suspensions. Is it clear? And we have seen that the solute particles do not settle down no matter how long the solution is allowed to stand. Is that clear? They remain as such. So, they form a heterogeneous mixture in which the solute particles remain as such. They remain suspended. Then I had told you about colloids, that is the particle size. I just told you when I was telling you about the suspensions, is between 10 to the power of minus 7 to 10 to the power of minus 4 centimeter. Is it clear? So, these are the colloids, and the examples of colloids are milk, then blood, then milk, blood, and so many other examples of colloids. You can see detergents. Then there are various medicines which also in the form of colloids only. The particle size is between 10 to the power of minus 7 to 10 to the power of minus 4 centimeter. Then toothpaste, shampoo, hair setting gel, shaving creams, they are all some example of colloids. Even the majority of fluids in our body are colloidal in nature. So, blood, I have just told you, is a fluid in what that is the fluid that is circulating in our body for transportation of oxygen and nutrients. It is also a colloid. And these are the differences, or these are this is the comparison between the true solution colloids and suspension. So, talking about the particle size, I've just told you, is in true solution the particle size is less than 10 to the power of minus 7 centimeter. You cannot see them under the microscope also. Is that clear? And in the case of colloids, it is between 10 to the power of minus 7 to minus 4 centimeter, and of course in the suspension it is greater than 10 to the power of minus 4 centimeter. Then a homogeneous nature is homogeneous. In true solution you cannot make out the solute particles anywhere in the solvent. Then in the colloids it is heterogeneous, but it appears as homogeneous. As you have seen in gum or milk, you cannot see very clearly where the particles are. Exactly, and you have to use something to see the particle size. Then the visibility, that is the suspension are heterogeneous, you can easily see the particles. Then the visibility of solute particles in true solution are not visible, and in the case of colloids they can be seen with the help of a powerful microscope, and in the case of suspension they are easily visible. Then the particles do not settle down in the case of true solution. Particles in both true solution and colloids, they do not settle down, they remain as such, but in the case of suspension particles settle down on standing. Then in true solution is clear and transparent, while colloids are translucent, that they can no light, a partial light can pass through them, and they can then in the case of suspension they appear as opaque and no light can pass through them. And you have the examples I have shown you, that true solution sugar in water, then of colloids milk, ink and blood, then again heterogeneous curd in water, sand in water, or flour in water, or examples of suspensions. Then please move on to the exercise. Tick the correct options. The ratio of hydrogen and oxygen in water by masses is 1:2, 1:8, 2:3, 8:1. It is 1:8, right? Then when salt is added to water, the boiling point of water increases, decreases, or remains the same, or it first decreases then increases. Yes, the boiling point of water increases. Water has minimum volume and maximum density at 4 degrees Celsius. Water is called a universal solvent because it is a liquid. It exists in all three states. It dissolves a large number of substances or expands on heating. Yes, it dissolves a large number of substances. Then a solution that contains more solute than it can hold at a particular temperature is called saturated solution, unsaturated solution, or supersaturated solution. Yes, it is supersaturated solution. On increasing temperature, the solubility of solids in water, yes, increases. Then the fill in the blanks, petrol and water are immiscible liquids. Is it clear? They are immiscible. Then blank dissolved in water is used by aquatic plant or animal for respiration. It is oxygen. The homogeneous mixture in which the size of the solute particle is less than 10 to the power of minus 7 centimeter are called, yes, less than 10 to the power of minus 7 centimeter, they are known as true solutions. Is that clear? Next is the heterogeneous mixture in which the size of the solute particle is in between 10 to the power of minus 7 to minus 4 centimeter are called as, yes, colloids. Then sand and water is a, I just told you, it is a suspension. Then blank is not a colloid, it is sugar in water. Blood is a colloid. Now please revise whatever I have done today. Allah Hafiz.